The surname Jackson has been kind to Miami football over the decades. How about for a first name? We shall see. We will run down that commit and, of course, take your comments and your questions there in the live chat as we typically do. You've got the very best in the hot seat, Cam Underwood, State of the U, always here to deliver on a Wednesday night. Cam, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to be back. Had a little hiatus last week. Not my fault for once, not blaming or anything, but I was not the cause of the week off. But hey, we all need a little break from time to time, but good to be back with you guys.
Absolutely. Everyone blame me, but we're back at them. That just makes you appreciate Cam and the show even more, everyone. All right, let's get right to it. We had some news over the past couple of days by way of an unlikely spot here. The state of Indiana, the Hoosier State, producing the 25th rated tight end in the nation, according to the 247 Sports Composite, in one Jackson Carver at 6'6", 220.
Yeah, big kid. Only played football for 1 year, but was well known as a hockey defenseman along the who's the defenseman, like a Zdeno Chara or Chris Pronger, being like 6'6", 6'7". Shout out to way back in the 90s when I used to watch hockey. So yeah, those names are a little throwback, but yeah. Also playing lacrosse. So a physical kid playing two contact sports and played 1 year of football and definitely has, work to do, but 6'6", 220 before he really tries to build a football body is really impressive for one. And everybody who's seen him play says that he has, ball skills so he can actually catch the ball, which is key so that you're not just an extra offensive lineman out there. And as he grows and just learns the technique, he should be able to be a willing blocker. And again, when you're playing, defense in lacrosse and hockey, like you're hitting people. So it's not the same concern that people have with basketball players coming over to play football of more finesse sport coming to a collision sport. You're playing real contact sports in hockey and lacrosse and going to play a collision sport in football. So yeah, this is a guy who is projectable, and I think that he's a good fit for what this program wants to do moving forward at a position of strength. I think this sets up the paradigm that Miami is looking to take two tight ends this class pretty strongly, with a multitude of guys being looked at for the other or the number one tight end spot, because Jackson Carver is a nice number two, complement to a very premium player. I made mention of Jackson Howard, Jackson, from Minneapolis. Father played big time football. I want Jackson to play tight end. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to play D-end. He's going to play D-end. Look, it's like the Malik Curtis thing. I want Jackson Howard to play offense. However, I will if everybody's like he's going to play tight end and we bring him here to play tight end. Defensive end instead. Fine, cool. Get him on my roster, Jackson Howard. He's an athlete, 6'5", 245, really athletic. Get him on my roster. If you want to put him on defense, fine. But the guy, and I kind of went off the top of my dome when responding to a question about, who might be the other tight end in this class. Number one, Reed Miksa from Texas. He just visited last weekend with Jackson Carver. He's, a good kid, a good player. I believe he's like a high 3-star level guy. So he could be the other tight end in this class. Miami is also chasing the number one tight end in America, Riley Williams. And I believe that would be where we're really looking to get Riley Williams. And if not Riley, then like a Reed Mikska, if that's how you say it. I think that's how you say it. Excuse me if I got it wrong. And then there's some other targets on the board for tight end also, but it's really the Reed Williams kid. But yeah, Jackson Carver is a good add to this class. He continues to just get things moving. Again, we're still playing chess, not checkers, with the construction of this class. This is still like a pawn taking a pawn kind of a thing. So this is not like the home run. This is not the game breaker. This is not the one commitment that changes everything, but it is a step along the path. He's a worthy player. He came down here, fell in love with the University of Miami. As a Midwesterner who came down to do the same, I understand, my friend. And yeah, so welcome to you, Jackson Carver, and we move.
So I understand that he's not projected to be some type of all-conference type selection, but we'll see. He's a top 25 rated at his position, and you're telling me he's only played one season?
Yeah.
He's only played 1 year of football in his life.
Correct.
And he's getting offers from Miami, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Auburn, South Carolina, North Carolina, Nebraska, Minnesota, Kentucky, etc.
Yeah, Florida was trying to get him on campus for a visit this upcoming weekend, but after having seen the palatial estate known as the University of Miami campus, he just said, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time in Alachua. Let's actually just shut everything down. Alachua County, that is. Yeah, let's just shut everything down. Let's just commit to the University of Miami because I have a good head in my brain, brain in my head. So it works. And I know that going to Miami is way better than going to Florida. And yeah, so shut down that visit and any future visits and everything. It was just like, I found the place that I want to be. And that's here with MarkRogersTV Company at the Hurricanes. We're glad to have them. So welcome to the U.
Before we go to the live chat for comments and questions with Falconer X at the top of the list, you wanted to address wide receiver height.
Yeah, just really quickly. So my guy Marshall, shout out to Marsh, used to contribute with us at State of the U, and he's moved on to other contributing ventures. But he put up a tweet that said Robbie Washington, Jaylen Brown, Ray, that being Nathaniel Joseph, Ray Joseph from Edison, who just decommitted from Clemson yesterday or today, and Andy Jean, who, according to Rivals, and take that as you will, said that he was recently on campus and loved it, and Miami is pulling out to a big lead for him. Remembering Andy Jean from Miami Northwestern, who was committed to Miami and decommitted from Miami, but is saying all the right things. And Marsh said that those four would be would be a great haul. And I quote tweeted that and said, yes, but I need some height. I just do. And a bunch of people came back and said, basically you can get that in the portal. You have the JUCO kid, who's visiting this weekend. He was supposed to be visiting last weekend, but he wasn't able to make it. Willikers. I got to go look this name up. Colby Young, 6'4", 220. So he's a guy with the height that we're talking about. Somebody mentioned Hakeem Williams with a sad face because Texas A&M looks like they're going to spend another $40 billion in Texas oil money on this recruiting class, with him getting a substantial offer from two independent sources that I've heard from. But he's like a 6'3", 6'4" kid from Fort Lauderdale, Stranahan, not too far away from here. But those guys were not in the group of conversation. But you can add like a Hakeem Williams or something. And then a lot of people said, basically you don't need height anymore, or da-da-da-da-da. You can be fine with a wide receiver core that has no height in it. And if that's how you view things, fine. I would like to have a measure of height. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be, because Robbie Washington is 5'11", Ray Joseph is 5'9", Jaylen Brown is 6'1.5". I mean, he was a high top, so maybe he's 6'1". But he has a troubling history of drops. So hopefully he's working on that. And then Andy Jean is like 6'1", which is fine. It's not terrible, but I would like to see a 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" at the receiver slot, not just at tight end. Myself personally. And I'm not wrong for wanting one or two of those guys in my wide receiver room on my roster. And again, if you differ in your view of roster construction, that's fine. But I'm not crazy for looking for the height. And if we're bringing in Colby Young this weekend for an official visit, because he was not able to make it last weekend or earlier in this week, the decision makers up top share my view. And that's evidenced by who we're, bringing in for a visit this year. And we brought in Frank Ladson from the portal, 6'3". Like, I'm not off base by saying, in a different way, not where's the beef, but where's the height? And maybe it's already on the roster in terms of Frank Ladson. Maybe you add it with Colby Young. But I'm not crazy for looking at a 4-man class and thinking that maybe we're going to get somebody of a little bit of a bigger stature. And again, we can disagree. And I'm not even going to say that you're wrong. I'm just saying that we have a different paradigm when it comes to roster construction and especially at height at the wide receiver position. So I know some people saw that I was having that conversation on social media, and there was one gentleman. Let me actually go over here to my Twitter to, if it loads, there we go. Give you the at. Come on. Smitty Boy 2100. So thank you for holding me accountable to talk about this and everything. And there are some people who are like, oh yeah, Alabama and O State, they have all these receivers and none of them are taller than 6'2". If you're developing all the best wide receivers in America, fine. I don't believe that Miami is doing that right now. And also I would prefer if we had some of those guys who also had some height. So just making sure that I talked about that, because Smitty Boy 2100 asked me directly to mention it if we were going on live today, and I did. So there we go.
Falcon Rex, appreciate you being here. Falcon Rex making his presence known not only here but in the Florida State show.
Oh boy,
causing quite a stir, which was fun. Just kind of making note of the 4th and 14 being kind of inconsequential, and if nothing else, aiding the Miami cause in the face of seeing 4th and 14 shirts on the show.
Fair.
So Falcon Rex leads us off with a serious topic here. So we have wondered throughout college football nation when the NCAA would strike, when they would start to explore some things that they certainly have the right and probably obligation and responsibility to do so. So they have brought some members of their governing body on the campus of Miami, on the Coral Gables campus, to interview John Ruiz in particular, but also a number of people in the area and at the school. And so Falcon Rex's question is simply the NCAA not targeting necessarily, but certainly investigating, looking at, inquiring. An inquiry would be probably the best term for it. Miami, and we don't know if they'll move on to Alabama, Texas A&M, or others, but this is the first school they've selected.
And I mean, it's Miami. We continue to set the standard, honestly. It's because Miami was at the forefront and continues to be at the forefront of NIL. And they did an inquiry, so they did talk to people. It wasn't an investigation, so it's different than that. But basically, I mean, I'm not going to fault him. I know everybody was trying to dunk on him, but Ross Dellinger, from Sports Illustrated, was the first one who tweeted that out. And then other entities confirmed that, The Athletic and Yahoo and all kinds of other places. But his tweet was a little salacious. Made it seem as though it was more of an investigation than an inquiry. And basically, the NCAA came down and they said, okay, we're going to talk to people. We're going to figure out how this is working on the ground because we wrote these bylaws and everything. And Miami seems to be, doing it loudly. I put up a tweet, about John Ruiz, basically, real G's moving silence like lasagna, shout out to Lil Wayne. But you don't have to be braggadocious about it. And Alabama and Texas A&M, they're offering all this money. They're doing all these things, but you can't put a name to the person who's doing that. And that's what boosters really should be. But yeah, the NCAA did come down and talk to Miami. And it is my sincere hope that they're going to some of these other places because trust and believe this NIL money is flying in other places. I mean, Tennessee gave Nico Imaliava $8 million. It's the worst kept secret in recruiting. But you want to come down here. You know what I mean? Alabama and A&M, not even talking about the NIL, but you got their coaches going in public and calling each other out for all kinds of malfeasance. And I've spoken about things that I've heard from the trail, about them dropping off bags and things that have been done for years. But again, you show up to Miami first. And then, you get some clicks if you're Sports Illustrated because you couch it in a certain way as more salacious than investigatory. And investigatory to learn, you know what I mean, of what's going on. Not I'm trying to find something, just let's investigate how this actually works because we wrote these bylaws and we really don't necessarily even know. But you know what? Hashtag let's be jerks. If they want to come, after us, then that's fine. I am with John Ruiz in the point where he said, look, we have Darren Heitner, we have, Drew Rosenhaus, all these other lawyers and agents and things, and John Ruiz being a credentialed lawyer himself, saying, we looked at all the legalese, we looked at all the standards, and we're 100% within the bylaws of what was written. So if they change the bylaws, then we will change what we're doing. But based upon what was written, there is zero room to say that we've done anything untoward. And I take him at his word because why would I not? But yeah, it is a little funny that out of everyone in the world who's been doing NIL stuff with all this, money coming around, Texas even came out and said any offensive line who comes to Texas, minimum $50,000. Boom, for the entire offensive line room. That's, if you have 10 guys in the room, that's $1 million. Or sorry, 20 guys in the room. That's $1 million a year, right? And you got some 4 stars and 5 stars. So you're probably going to pay them more. So it's probably going to be, you know what I mean? But you're not talking to them. You're not talking to A&M, who spent $82 million. What did I say in the tweet? The entire GDP of sub-Saharan Africa is what they spent on this last recruiting class. It's a little curious that you came to Miami first, but it is what it is. So I'm not scared about it. I'm not worried about it. I don't think that there's going to be anything that comes from it. Even if you read the articles, even the one that Dellinger wrote, it is way less eye-catching than the tweet that he put out. So I'm not worried about
it. The number you just gave up for Texas A&M, where is that substantiated?
I exaggerate for comedic effect. I don't know exactly what the number is.
I was going to say, I never heard 8.
It was substantial. Yeah. I don't know what the number is. And yes, I exaggerated a number, but they were not thrifty in the 2022 recruiting cycle. That's all I can say.
So Ruiz made the statement that he represents 115 athletes. Most attend Miami, but not all. North Carolina, FIU. And his NIL payroll is currently at about $7 million. So, oh my goodness, can I do the math on that? That would be about $60,000 per 115 athletes at $7 million total. Sounds like about 60,000 per. Yeah,
that's just short of 61. Yeah.
Okay.
Is the average.
All right, because I think that because of the numbers we've heard for Quinn Ewers and Bryce Young and the basketball player at Tennessee, a lot of people think that just everyone's getting ridiculous amounts of money, and there are also some very nominal and very important to those individual athletes, and it's working for them, and it's great if you can pick up $5,000 or $10,000 for what this is supposed to be, and it's certainly their right as Americans. So yeah, it's either we won't hear anything else of it. They've come into town, conducted their interviews, and they're leaving. That's that. Or maybe their choice was, okay, on the surface, we're going to say that we're just wanting to get familiar with the process and hoping to uncover something if it's there.
They probably are. And again, the NCAA really doesn't have the ability to investigate anything. They're only going to find something if somebody snitches. But again, when you're doing things along the lines of what was, written as the policy or standard, hey, that is what it is. Am I saying that the bag man has completely gone away? No,
Mhm.
absolutely not. But it's not in the NIL program. The bag man is something unto itself.
Okay, J Love T's in the chat. Appreciate you being here. Fun question for Cam. What is your expectation for the over/under on 5-star commitments this year?
Over under 1.5. So, yeah, I think that 1 is firmly in play. Like to have 1 in this class. Anything other than that, if you get real. But again, this whole staff is coming here in the middle of this cycle because recruiting super elite guys is a 2 or 3 year process. We've seen that for many players at many schools for a lot of time, including like Avante Williams was like, hey, I know that everybody thinks that I'm going to go to Florida because, excuse me, I live in DeLand and got 2 kids, but I have the longest standing relationship with Miami. And that's why I'm choosing Miami, because I've known them for 4 or 5 years from when they were recruiting my cousin, Lorenzo Lingard, who turned out to be extra regular, but whatever, as a 5-star. So that relationship and that longevity matters. So this whole staff is coming in, and I know that we had to change the staff, but it's pretty mid-cycle for basically having a year and a little bit for a process that usually takes 2 to 3. So to set the real baseline at 2 is real aggressive, I think. So, you could set the over under at 2.5. I think that you're just going to set it at that number to really push action to the under. But, excuse me, at 1.5, I think that there's a conversation to be had. And I think that that's a good number. For me right now, obviously some rankings will change and things like that. I don't think that too many 5-stars are going to lose stars. Although, if they picked Miami, maybe they do. But I think a good number is 1.5 for the over under on 5 stars in this class, and then kind of just going from there. But I think that that's a good place to start.
All right, folks, bring those comments and questions. Here we go. We got Falcon Rex here. Miami is a leader in NIL and is 100% legit. Falcon Rex, appreciate you being here. Of course, yes, targeting Tony Diaz. Thank you for the super sticker and the contribution, Tony.
Hey, somebody else with a sticker. Okay.
George says, come to the SEC where you can get away with anything. Yes, Hummus Hero. Wasn't John Ruiz a heavyweight contender back in the day?
I believe
heavyweight.
Gentlemen of the same name, but not the same gentleman.
Okay. I had no idea if it was, but I know of the boxer. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the same guy. Okay. All right.
FSU, that's not true. FSU just got to commit from a 0-star unknown recruit. So they got enough together to get the kid a 4 for 4 from Wendy's, apparently, or something. Shout out to Wendy's. That 4 for 4 got us through lots of hungry days in college. The one right at the corner of US 1 and Sunset or Ludlam down there by the U.
Zoe, I don't necessarily where'd that question go. Zoe was saying we hear about all this NIL money Miami has, but yet we don't see any big time recruits being grabbed.
Yeah, you don't. And again, and I see that you're a Noel, and first of all, welcome. Glad that you stepped up from the JV show to the varsity, for one. And 2, I don't know if you've been here before, but this is the thing that I've said. And long story short, Miami is basically in the beginning of a chess match right now. They're setting up the big moves. So there is the money out there. I'm sure that, the NIL offers are being communicated and everything, but we're not at the point where you're going to see guys flying off the board, and especially top guys flying off the board. And you go back to my answer from a couple questions ago. This staff is brand new here in the middle of the process to try to recruit, blue chip guys. and trying to do it in a year, almost under the year, under 1 year, in a process that usually takes 2 to 3, if not 4. So yeah. Oh, hey, always here. Awesome. Outstanding. Well, we'd love to have you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I have yet to see your handle as well. So I thought maybe you were new to the show as well. So appreciate you being here. And so is there, whether this be in this NIL world or what was recruiting previously, is there a possibility or is there a thing of possibly getting commits too early? So when you're talking about setting up the board in a chess match rather than playing checkers, is there a legitimately a thing of getting someone to commit too early? Doesn't seem possible, but
it is possible to get somebody too early, and it's a joke that's turned fact. Like a lot of the top end guys, you don't even want to be their first commitment because they're going to end up evaluating the process more, and they're going to flip, or they're going to decommit, and they're going to do something else down the line. And I think you saw a lot of that during the Al Golden run, where he almost tried to take a Mac Brown at Texas approach and lock in guys early. Now, at the beginning of Mac Brown's time in Texas, he would use the junior days in the spring, lock up the majority of his class, select the last few guys, save them for some 5 stars, the Derek Johnsons of the world. But the majority of it would be done the April before the next February. And in the Al Golden kind of a way, and you can go search up all of these articles because I wrote one every single year. Oh, the next year's class for Miami is rated number 1 a year out from signing day, or the 2 years from now is already like, it was one of those things. So yeah, you really want to get into that sweet spot. You don't want it to be too early for a commitment. And also just really judging the kind of the values and the character of the individual. Because some people are going to want to take visits. Some people are going to want to play the game. Lord knows there's a long list of guys, especially from South Florida, who were very interested in playing the game, but were not actually interested in some of the other schools, including Miami, that they were talking to along the path. So yeah, there is a thought that you can get guys in the boat too early. And especially, again, recruiting rule number 9 is you have to win. You have to show them something on the field to make them get enthusiastic about joining that program. And that was the thing that never curled over for Al Golden. So he would get these guys in, he would have all these 5 stars, whatever, and then lose these games. Mike London, Virginia, keeping that man employed there for year and year when he shouldn't have been. But you lose to that team 4 years in a row, and you keep this guy employed for 5 extra, or 3 years in a row, kept him employed for 4 more years than he should have been, singularly because Miami lost to them. And then you have things like that. And then these guys are like, well, if we can't even beat Virginia, maybe I should take that phone call from Alabama, Florida State, Florida, Georgia, Oregon, SC, whomever. And that happened a lot. So, yeah, you can go in too early, but you do want to be sure that you're intentional. But yeah, as we're coming into the summertime, it's June 15th today. Oh, it was my Uncle Raymond's birthday yesterday on Flag Day. Happy birthday, Uncle Raymond. But as we're coming into the end of June, going into July, like this is the time where, especially for guys who you think are going to sign early in December, and the ones who have previously stated they really want to have a decision done before their senior year starts, you're pushing for those guys. The guys who you think might play the game, the recruiting game, all the way through the All-American games, or, take visits in November and December and things like that. You can have a protracted timeline, but yeah, you can go in too early and then that work against you. And we've seen that for Miami a few times. So I think that we're taking a more judicious approach right now.
Falconer X. Florida State show guys sounded like Miami under Manny Diaz, talking up 2- and 3-star guys. I like Mario Cristobal going after 5-star guys.
cook a gourmet meal, you need gourmet ingredients. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that there can be no 3 stars. We just talked about Jackson Carver up top. We talked about Reed Mike Scud and some other guys. But those should be the exception, not the rule. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can get to the point where, you know, you're doing too much Manny and 2 5 stars will come to Miami regardless. That they were not coming to Miami regardless, James. No. Like, they Leonard Taylor and James Williams, it took work. They were not Duke Johnson. Now, Duke Johnson, that man committed and said, I was always going to Miami. I'm from Miami. I went to New Orleans. I'm going, you know, I'm putting on for the U. I'm staying at the crib. That's it. And everybody in America wanted that man. But he came out pretty early and was like, nope, Miami, and that's it. Don't call my phone. Don't ask me nothing about it. Boom. If James Williams and Leonard Taylor, now James Williams was earlier. He was the earlier of the 2 to commit, but it still took work, man. Like, I'm not just gonna hand wave that or obligate that. Like, oh yeah. Like, no. That still took yeoman's work. That took a lot of work. And even though overall he wasn't a great coach, I'm not going to revise history and take those quality recruiting wins away from Manny Diaz. Like, him and the staff, they did work to get those guys on campus, and it is far from a foregone conclusion that either of them were going to come here. Look, James Williams had just most recently been to Georgia before he committed to Miami, and that was out of nowhere on like a Tuesday night at 9:30. I'm not saying anything, ain't no interviews. I'm dropping an edit on Twitter, and I'm going about my business commitment, okay? So that was, like I said, 2 days. It was either 2 or 9. I forget. It was the weekend before, or the weekend before, when he had just most recently visited Athens. So, and they were pushing everybody in the crystal ball, everybody in the recruiting world was saying, okay, look, hey, Miami, they're losing ground with this kid. He's looking to go to Georgia specifically. It was the one. Florida was involved with Leonard Taylor, as were other schools, up until he committed as well. So, yeah, saying that they were both going to come 100% to Miami and there was no chance for anybody else, with all due respect, that's just factually inaccurate. And I know that it didn't work out for Manny Diaz as the head coach overall, but you have to give him credit and the staff credit for locking in on those 2 guys, because I just named you 3 teams that were after those 2 guys, and trust and believe, if they would not have done the necessary work to get them on campus, they would be playing somewhere else, just like so many other South Florida 5 stars that we've seen over time.
Chris, thank you for the kind words there. Marcus says, Cam, what linebackers should we be pursuing?
A bunch of them, for one, because we need linebackers, bro. I don't have the list in front of me of linebackers, so you guys are really good at asking really specific questions these last few weeks that have actually stumped me for the first time in a long time. So that just shows that you guys are plugged in. You guys, your brain and synergy with the Miami program is there in recruiting. And also that just means that I need to get back in the lab and grind a little bit more so that I know all of these names. But you have Bobby Washington. That's Robbie Washington's brother, who's a 3-star, but he could end up as a 4-star. He's a big athletic kid. He's 6'5", like 6'3", 210, and he can run. This kid is definitely, I think, a blue chipper, not just because his twin brother happens to be a blue chip wide receiver. He can play himself. You got the Malik Bryant kid from Orlando. You got Raul Aguirre from Georgia. Yeah, you know, there are names out there that you're going to need to be looking at for linebacker. I don't have the categorical list right now, but good on y'all. Lewis Carter, Malik Bryant. Yeah, good on y'all for being very intentional and specific with these questions. And I feel that I've let you down for the first time in forever, but I won't let you down again.
Well, that's all in, of course, context, perspective, letting us down here. So Cam delivers. There's no doubt about that. That's why we have a successful show here each and every Wednesday night. Appreciate everybody being here. And of course, Cam makes it all happen. Catch his work and the work of his staff there at State of the U. So what's the story on Nathaniel Joseph? So he decommits from Clemson, and by all indications, it seems like the beeline is straight to South Florida.
I mean, staying in South Florida. He goes to Miami Edison, which is way downtown in Miami. 5'8", 170 pounds, electric slot receiver. Incredibly fast. He's a guy who you will play on special teams as well. I'm going to pause that real quick. Brian Taylor, shout out to the 313. What up, though? Detroit area code on your contribution there. What's the over-under on running backs? We're going to take this cycle. The over-under is 1.5. Looks like we're going to look at 2. More likely than not. But we'll see. But I think 1.5. Definitely need 1. I could easily be talking to 2, depending on who they are. In terms of that. But for Ray Joseph, back to him, was committed to Clemson. Clemson, they Dabo tries to be on the Nick Saban program, where if you're committed, you do not take visits elsewhere. You do not really communicate with staffs elsewhere. It's well known that despite his commitment to Clemson, Ray Joseph has been to Miami's campus multiple times over the last 2 months. Call them secret visits or not. If everybody knows about them, not really secrets. Andrew Ivins from 247 Sports noted it. Gabby Urrutia, also inside the U247 Sports, other recruiting people around have seen him on campus. When you are around these guys, you know what they look like. So you don't even need to see him in pads or anything. You're like, oh, hey, that's Ray. Boom. So he's been on campus a lot. Was on campus this last weekend for the 7-on-7 tournament hosted at the University of Miami. There's video of him playing in that tournament. Pictures and video, so that is confirmed that he was there for that event. But it's also known that he has taken other visits to Coral Gables and then finally made the move to decommit from Clemson. I saw that somebody from Rivals put in a prediction for Ray Joseph to Louisville. You can predict that if you want to, but I think it's pretty a foregone conclusion at this point that he's going to come to Miami. It would be an incredible upset if Ray Joseph were to pick another school that is not named the University of Miami at this point.
I reviewed Miami's 5 national championships and some other possibilities because, of course, we've got a history of claimed at national championships throughout college football. None of those by Miami are claimed. They were all AP awards, AP awarded, so not necessarily claimed, but just kind of thought it would be interesting to go through the 5 national championships and then through other seasons where national championships could be claimed. So check out the video. Let me know what you think of it. All right. A lot of Miami fans up here in Connecticut. Okay.
My friend was up there this past weekend for a coworker's wedding. So, yeah.
Mark is asking, Cam, name your starting defensive line. I got Harvey and Mesidor on the ends and LT and Jackson at the tackles.
I think that sounds about good. The only thing would be maybe Mitchell Agood from UCLA. Maybe if he's playing defensive end, which I believe he's going to play, as opposed to linebacker, he can challenge for one of those spots. But that is a pretty solid front four: Jafari, Harvey, Akeem Mesidor, Leonard Taylor, and Daryl Jackson. I think that we're going to have a solid 2 deep as well. You have the UAB kid whose name always escapes me whenever I go to say, or Antonio Moultrie. There we go. Moultrie, Lichtenstein from SC, who went to Cypress Bay. He's back out here. I think that there are some other guys, Jared Harrison Hunt in the rotation there as well. Chance Williams probably going to be a top of the rotation, top 4 defensive end. not saying that he's going to start, but he's a name to know as well. So I think that's a good 4, but I think that we're going to have a solid 8 or 9 playable guys who are going to rotate in.
Chris, Mark, that was an awesome review on Miami's 5 national championships. Loved it. Thank you for that. We obviously have a very faulty and flawed system of awarding and naming national champions throughout history. It's become much more precise in recent years, of course, but still not perfect. And then there's quite a bit to discuss during the BCS era. And then, of course, prior to 1998. So we went through Alabama's, we went through Ohio State's, and then Miami's. We've got Nebraska upcoming. All right. Mr. HD, do you know Alonzo Highsmith's credentials? Well, he's talking to Eric there. So certainly,
I was about to say, we went down those the other week.
Yes, we will
Google
covered,
Wikipedia. Yeah, if you have questions. I mean, and again, this is a guy that I think it was Detavio, but like on our side and other places, like was being considered or was being written about as a potential candidate for the athletic director's job. So director of football operations. Come on, guys. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really something to behold as a non-participant in the fan base, as a bystander, as somebody who covers college football, that I can't really look at a false step since the hiring of Mario Cristobal. It's come together rather well. First-rate offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, coaches on both sides of the ball, and then, of course, the hiring by the new athletic director. First, his hiring, and then bringing on Alonzo Highsmith. You know, there is some discussion out there about how much Josh Gaddis's offense was really Josh Gaddis's offense at Michigan. So that will be somewhat interesting to take a look at in you know what stamp he puts on this offense versus what we've seen in recent years, what we saw in Michigan. And there's also a difference in personnel.
But even if you look at Michigan, it was different than it had previously been. And I get that you want to have some of the philosophical building blocks that have been there from Harbaugh. But if you look at big games, especially like that O State game, there were some things that had not been seen. And either that was Gaddis or the offense that laid the foundation for the wrinkles was Gaddis that got them as far as they did. So it's one or the other. You know what I mean? It can't, but the man did not win the Broyles Award for nothing. You know, he's highly sought after for a reason. He's on a path to be a head coach for somebody's team in short order. But yeah, no, that's I'm good. I'm that'll work for me.
Our guy, Steve Dace at Michigan Podcast, who comes on a regular basis, actually thinks that the defensive coordinator for Michigan, Mike McDonald, should have been the Broyles Award winner. But they both did a fine job. Okay. Kevin Steele, man, he's been coaching at forever. And where he's coached, Tennessee, Nebraska. We're talking about Tennessee when they were good, Nebraska when they were good. Florida State, Alabama, Clemson, Alabama again, LSU, Auburn. His experience is crazy good, and more so than the experience. It's one thing to have experience. It's one thing to have top-level experience.
Right. Anybody can go anywhere, but he's gone lots of places and done well. So, and it's not without flaw. And that's the thing that I always have to say, like, oh, he did well. Well, remember this one? Yeah. Nobody's perfect, and I'm not saying that he's perfect, but has a long history of demonstrated excellence. So yeah, very excited to see what he can do. And again, we have toys for him to play with on defense too, especially them safeties and bringing in changing the defensive line and everything. So yeah.
All right, folks, appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday night with Cam, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we know that you enjoy it. Others will as well. So get on out there on social media or by any other means. Let people know that we talk Miami football here with all of you every Wednesday. That's what I'm doing, Cam. I'm kind of rolling my eyes at the ceiling.
I wasn't rolling my eyes. I was doing the thing, where you think and you look up to the top
that's
left.
what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm not rolling my eyes like I'd rather be somewhere else. I'm rolling my eyes like, okay, I'm trying to come up with I have relied so much in this show as opposed to other shows where I kind of produce the show in my head while we go, and I constantly send out question after question after question. In this show, it's usually we got enough churn in the live chat that I don't need to do that.
All good.
So,
all good.
Hey, we can always pack up early for the night, but if anyone's got another question or if anything comes to mind for me in the next 10 or 12 seconds, then we will take hold of that. I'll ask you this since it's right in front of me and people seem to care about this, and I don't necessarily understand the fascination. Do you care if College Game Day comes to Miami?
I want to say no because if you're winning, it takes care of itself. But College Game Day is like a seminal institution now. Like it them coming to your game makes your game matter. You know what I mean? And like in 2017 when they came down, it was not on the calendar. It wasn't really on the radar. But then Miami started winning, and get a couple big wins, and you squeak by a couple other games. One of our guys is actually doing or has already written a piece about the 2017 season, which I believe I've scheduled for maybe a week or two from now. You'll know it when you see it. I'm interested to get your reads on it. I've already read it. I already have my thoughts on the topic, but I'm not going to spoil what it is at all. But there is a piece about that coming. But yeah, it just elevates everything around the program. It's a 4-hour commercial for your school and your staff, your players, the legacy, the current state, all those kind of things. So while I want to say no in a vacuum, because if we do what we need to do, it doesn't matter. If we do what we need to do, then Game Day will be here. And it just raises all the visibility and the external kind of things for it. So I do care. And we'll see if it's a game that would be here. I mean, I don't think the Florida State's good, so I don't think that would be it. I think if we get a game that's the Game Day game, it would be, there's a Texas A&M game, but I don't even know who else is playing that week. And early in the season, I think that would probably go somewhere else. The one that I could maybe think of would be Clemson later in November. But yeah, do I care? Yeah, I do.
I thought I was going to be able to tell you who else was playing. That would be week 3, correct? Against Texas A&M? Yeah. But I don't have it in front of me. I thought I did. Anyway, Chris is asking, Cam, what happens first? Miami gets a Heisman Trophy winner or Miami gets a national championship?
Both same time this year. Tyler Van Dyke and a ring. Boom. Let's get it.
Okay.
Oh my God, somebody's going to clip that and put that out there like I'm being serious.
Well, that's one of those questions that's just, you can't even make a judgment call on that. It's just happenstance. It's not happenstance, but
right. Is it week 3? Yeah.
Is it
so I pulled up the schedule the same week, just looking quickly. Nobody in the noon window that's really worth anything. In the 3:30 window, Penn State, Auburn. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech won't be it. Mississippi State, LSU, not. Michigan State at Wisconsin, that 7:30 game. I'm just scrolling quickly. Our game, Fresno State at USC, but that's a 10:30 game. That won't be it. Unless I'm missing something as I'm scrolling. Like California, Notre Dame, that could be one. They do love going to Notre Dame.
You think Cal and Notre Dame?
I'm just trying to throw. I'm scrolling quickly and looking at the options of anything that pops out to me.
Another thing is they also try to spread it out. So even if Alabama is historically good, they're not going to show up there every 3 weeks.
Right. And that's why I try to. I mean, Georgia at South Carolina, Oklahoma at Nebraska. I know that's the big noon Saturday game.
Yep.
So there are a couple options. So I mean, it could Penn State at Auburn is that week. And say that Auburn is that week. Yeah, I said that. So, and I mean, yeah, ULM at Alabama, that won't be it. Yeah, so there's like 2 or 3 other options, including Miami at A&M. And so, like, now that I'm looking at that, it's, I think, more possible than I first gave it credit for being.
I think so too.
Miami A&M.
Oh, I think if the game was played opening weekend against this schedule, it would be the game.
Yeah.
Now, Texas A&M nor Miami should lose before this game, so that should be safe.
Exactly.
Neither one of them play anyone before this game. Now, is it possible if... Yeah, I think it's going to be the game. I do. That would be my lean, my heavy lean.
Okay. I think that the Penn State Auburn game, even though that's a CBS game, also gets heavy consideration. Our game is the ESPN primetime game, even though it's a 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central out there. It is the ESPN primetime game, and they usually do try to do some of that to save Kirk from having to, fly across the country after the show stops or whatever. But yeah, that could. Yeah, no, Miami A&M could be a game day game. It absolutely could. Excuse me.
Okay. That's my that is my projection at this point. And actually, ironically, we're going to talk about that in about 15 to 20 minutes on the main channel during our call-in show, because again, people are fascinated by this for some reason. So we're going to go week to week, and I'll make my predictions. I'm a bit tardy on that since the first one has been announced, but you can trust me, folks. I did target Ohio State and Notre Dame for week 1, and that's the game. All right.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Cam Underwood, State of the U. That's the spot to be right there. And again, we are just about 5 weeks away from ACC Media Day, or whatever they call it. What do they call that?
ACC kickoff.
ACC kickoff, and then right into August camp. So it's coming fast, folks. What's its State of the U to check out these days?
Yeah, man, lots of stuff. We're into our summer content, so game previews, position previews, coach profiles. Got today is Wednesday, so I'm not out of turn. Justin DeTavio has been working on a great content stream that debuts tomorrow called Storm Chasers. Very, very excited about that. I've read the first installment already. Going to be one of the ones that you're not going to want to miss. Recruiting stuff always going up. I'm working on this week's official visit preview. When I get off of here, We have player profiles. We have op-eds, a lot of great stuff. We had one, What If Wednesday, the first one of the summer, was what if Frank Gore didn't tear both of his ACLs in college, because he was a monster. He was a monster. My God. So all that and more, we're going through the summer stuff, and, we're going downhill towards the season. But just working on a variety of things, even more that I cannot even tell you about, but working on a lot of great stuff that we can bring to you as we continue just to push forward with everything. So, always rock with us. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. Stateoftheu.com is the website, open 24/7, 365. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, where I tweet about a variety of things, but we're heavily in the lab. I've already sent out the calendars. All the guys are already working on a variety of things to bring to you. So we have a lot of great content. Hopefully it's something that you enjoy, and let us know.
The what if question is one of the most fascinating in sports. And the only thing I don't like when we get into that with the viewers is sometimes they'll throw out something ridiculous, like, let's say Miami went 7-6 one year, and they say, what if we won the national championship that year? Well, that wasn't within the realm of possibility. So sometimes you get that. But things like, here's what I believe is the most impactful to college football over the last 2 decades. And again, it's taking it a few steps away from the origin to get the full flavor of what transpired. And that's, if Drew Brees had not failed his physical with the Miami Dolphins when Nick Saban was the head coach there, he gets his quarterback. Does he leave and go to Alabama? If he doesn't, of course, it completely changes the trajectory of Alabama, and therefore
the whole landscape of the sport.
The whole landscape of the sport. Yes.
Yeah, and the Miami Dolphins as well, and everything, and there's so many of those things and everything, but we're trying to take a more focused look on the what if kind of thing. So looking at Frank Gore and saying, okay, what if he hadn't torn both of his ACLs? I can't tell you the other what if Wednesdays yet, because you gotta let you read them. But we have a bunch of great stuff coming up on the site this summer, as always. So please come on over and fan with us. We'd really appreciate it. And see you guys soon.
Next Wednesday, everyone, right here, the Voice of College Football with Cam, Wednesday at 7. Bring a friend with you, and we'll see you then.